It's not really part of the scheduled program, but I just want to take a minute while you're eating lunch. Firstly, I want to thank the Keynote sponsor. Baruch Hashem, last night, after such a beautiful banquet, we got notification that the Al Foundation has become a major sponsor of the Keynote Mechanchim Chabad, and we're very grateful to them and to the founders, Uri and Yael, and to all the team that has been involved in ensuring that in our grants. So Yeshar Koyach and David should bench them with a lot of bracha and atzlacha. On behalf of Rabbi Moskowitz, who really has worked Leilos Kiyamim to make this convention reality, we want to thank the committee members. And when you hear your name, please come up and we'll take a group committee picture. Whoever's here, I know some are, this wasn't planned, so some may not be here, but if you are here, please come up. Rabbi Avram Granite, Levi Lipinski, Rabbi, come on. Yeah. Yes. Come on. Just say names? Yeah, it does. I can't read my own handwriting. Mendel Amar. Yossi Tauger. I never get this one right. Yossi Yechiel Shanowitz.
Yossi Shanowitz.
Ruvain DeRay. Thank you, Rabbi Granon. Exactly.
Where's Rabbi Tauger?
Manis Frankel. Shirley Menkis. Schneier Wilhelm. Avramel Hershkowitz. Really, Yeshar Koyach. Which is this one?
You didn't get...
Which one?
Wait, Rabbi DeRay, can I see yours?
Yeah, okay, no worries. While you work that out. Rabbi Shmuel Shapiro. Rabbi Yeshua Lustig.
Here, put these on the side meanwhile.
What are these? Okay. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm writing. I don't even know my own handwriting. I have to look to my notes. Exactly. Rabbi Yisrael Langzam. Shmuley Genevish, really, and thank you for doing all the graphics. Yeshar Koyach. Zash Itkin. Did I miss anybody? Okay. Missing is Yaakov Garfinkel, who is here in spirit. Rabbi Levi Kaplan, who Baruch Hashem today made a shidduch. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Menachem Kirschenbaum, Yeshar Koyach Menachem. And if I miss somebody, Mendy Uzevich, did we call Mendy Uzevich up?
We've got Popak.
Avram Popak. And maybe more. We might get two more.
What does it say?
Small Reinitz. Shua Lustig. Okay, we got more.
Okay, so this is Yossi Tauger, is he? Here, and this is... Wait, Rabbi Wilhelm. What is yours? What is this? Okay, this is yours and this is yours. Schneier Wilhelm. Or is this? Is that? Or is this?
They're both. That's for certainly says Schneier.
So.
I got over here. Reb Mendy.
I don't see Rabbi Lustig's.
Shua Lustig. It says Shua on it.
Rabbi Popak.
Rabbi
Oh,
Popak.
Shmuley.
Shmuley Reinitz.
The Shmuel Reinitz.
Reinitz.
All right, Popak, please
Rabbi
come up.
Popak. We're waiting for you. Shkoyach.
Okay, can we get a group picture? Who didn't get one?
Shua looks like didn't
We have Shuas. I have a Shua, I have a Yossi, and I have a Shmuel. That means he has the wrong one. What do you have here? Go back. I wrote. Rabbi Ryan is not here. Somebody has your name. Someone has Shua. Someone has Shua. Look at your own. Please see if anybody has the name Shua in theirs.
Oh, is this Shua?
That's Shua. That is Shua.
I apologize.
I know.
Forgive me.
This is Schneer.
Zon, you should become a doctor.
Who else does it? Yossi Talger is not here. And Shmuel Ryan is. Okay. No, we gotta move more all the way to the corner. Come on, guys.
Single line.
No, come in.
Hey,
like yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Round of applause for the committee. Okay. Absolutely stay on.
yeah, that's my secret.
Good afternoon, everybody. On a personal note, it is actually wildly incredible to be standing here together with all of you, tremendous Mechanchim, Menalim, Mashbiim, and really this Keynote went far and far beyond any expectations, headed by Rabbi Schneier and the team. Tremendous round of applause for him. Lunch program is going to be two different things. Both of them play a very important part as a mechanech. Rabbi Bran, as we all know, many of us sat in the class, tremendous involvement in chinuch in many ways. He's been tremendous in guiding the Vada Chinuch over here with different discussions and questions to make this Keynote happen, Altaris HaKodesh. And just the fact that a Rav could take a day out and to come and spend the day with a group of Mechanchim, I think in and of itself is a tremendous Yasher Koyach. I don't think Rabbi Bran needs any bios read about him, so without further ado, Rabbi Bran.
Ma'anoira hamokim hazeh. Ein zeh kiyim beis elikim, v'zeh this place is Shar HaShamayim. There was a shlich of the Rebbe, and he might have some relatives in the room, a mechanech b'chesed Eli, and his name was Reb Sholem Ber Halperovich. For many years was a menalim and chanech in Dallas, Texas. And he wrote to the Rebbe several times that he wants to leave his job in chinuch, and he wants to finally become a shliach of the Rebbe. And be someone who does hafatzah, Chabad house work. And the Rebbe wrote to him, and I'm quoting you verbatim what the Rebbe said, Ma'u hechrech l'daitam, she'ofen shlichusam u'mekoima, tzarech li es dafke kafir etzoinoi v'hepich etzoini. Where did you get this hechrech, both of you, I mean him and his wife, that the way you do your shlichus and the location of your shlichus has to be the way you want and the opposite of what I want? Where did you come up with such an idea that shlichus means what you want? Shlichus means what I want. Many years ago in the MEMS, there was a kinus in Eretz Yisrael, and it was brought up at this kinus that we have a lack of proper manpower, of proper mechanchim. Mechanchim is second class if you couldn't get a job in shlichus, and also you can't get another job, so automatically you become a teacher in Oral Torah. That's the way it used to be. So this was in Eretz Yisrael, and there was a Yiddish called Naftali Rot, who ran the chinuch department of Tzach, I think, and he wrote to the Rebbe about this, that he's hearing from people want to do shlichus. So the Rebbe told him, Naftali Rot, that he should put out a book. You might remember it, it's a soft cover book called HaMechanech, a very thin book, the likud of the Rebbe's sichos and the sichos of the Rabbeim, all about chinuch, to sort of push the chinuch agenda. It was translated a couple of years ago by a tremendous mechanech in English, Rabbi Aryeh Solomon from Sydney. He wrote a few books on chinuch. He translated into English. It's a soft cover book. You get it on Amazon, I think, for $5.99. It's called Educational Privilege. And that made some headwaves, and we started seeing more people going into chinuch. But over the years, there's always been a challenge. How do we get the mukhsharim, the capable people, to be in the classroom? Those who are non-capable should go fundraising. But for the neshamas, we need the capable people. So I always had this thought that came to my mind. I don't know if you remember, this is going back many, many years, right? 20, 30 years. Gem had a series of videos about shlichus. They had, say some names that you forgot already. Now we don't know, they're not as professional as today's videos. Cornerstones, you remember that one? Horizons, Embers, Pioneers. There was a whole series of videos describing shluchim and building projects and all that kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, imagine if Jem puts out a video of Mechanchim, like with a tararam. The problem is you can't do a three-dimensional theatrical thing of a Mechanech sitting in a classroom teaching a Blat Gemara. There's no way Jem's going to be able to produce such a video. And then today it hit me. We have it right here in the room. All you need is to come into this room, and there's no reason why you won't want to be in the Avodas HaKodesh of Chinuch. The atmosphere, the environment, the Geschmack, the Zugetragenkeit. There's a letter that we have that the Baal Shem Tov wrote that the day of Chavav Tammuz, which is today, should be celebrated as a Yom Tov forever and ever. Because at that time, there was a Nitzachin against a heretical movement, the Frankisten, Yimach Shemam. And because the Baal Shem Tov overpowered the Frankisten, he asked we should celebrate Chavav Tammuz annually. And someone wrote to the Rebbe and asked, whatever happened with Chavav Tammuz? Nobody knows about it. I mean, I happen to know Chavav Tammuz because my colleague, Mitz Langiyar, Rabbi Shvei Olav Shalom's birthday was Chavav Tammuz, and we used to have a small celebration for his birthday. But what's Chavav Tammuz? So the Rebbe wrote back that looks like that over the years it was forgotten. There's a brief letter of the Rebbe. This year we reinstated Chavav Tammuz to be a Yom Tov L'Doyre Doyres. It might sound, maybe I come across as though I'm saying cliches. I really genuinely mean everything that I've been saying. I spoke once to a Yid that's involved in the chinuch for many, many years. And he told me in a moment of truth, a confession, that he used to be involved in women's fashion. He used to sell women's clothing. Looks like it's a stepping stone for chinuch. And he said one day it hit him. He pushed the cheshbon nefesh. It hit him. What am I doing in life? I'm actually going to be telling a girl these shoes are better for you. Is this where I'm heading? This is where I'm getting at? Although over the years the Rebbe pushed him very strongly to the stay chinuch, it never worked until it hit him at that moment. That he's dealing with the future. talking about pioneers and embers and horizons, this room is educating the next generation of the Rebbe Shluchim. This room is designing neshamas. And we don't need more than the fact that this is the ASIC. The Eibishter has a very busy schedule every single day, almost like our schedule. And the Gemara gives an accounting of the Eibishter's time management program. So the Gemara Masechta Avodah Zarah says, what does he do this hour? What does he do that hour? Reviyos. What does he do in this slot of hours called Reviyos? The Gemara says, Yoshev Malamed Torah L'Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban. The Eibishter sits and becomes a Malamed. We're in pretty, we have a good model to learn from. The matter for today was, I was told, is Al Tigu B'Mshicha El Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban. The words Al Tigu B'Mshicha have been used over the last few years in many different contexts. In New York, with the terrible Gzeiris against Chinuch, we used the phrase Al Tigu B'Mshicha. And when the issues came up of abuse, particularly amongst teachers, some people used the words Al Tigu and borrowed the phrase Al Tigu B'Mshicha about touching children. But I want to go back to the core meaning of Al Tigu B'Mshicha. Why are Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban called Mashiach? Pashup Pshat, Rashi says in Masechta Shabbos, because the derech was that little kids, they used to smear on them oil. So they're Mashiach, because you Pashup smear oil on them. The Maharsha says, L'mashcha l'gdula. The word Mashiach means great, chashuv. And the ones that are chashuv, Al Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban. But the Rebbe, many sikhs says that all these perushim are doichik and not the simple pshat. The simple pshat means that there must be a connection with Mashiach kipshutei. The fact that in the schus of little children were building the Beis Hamikdash, the Tzemach Tzedek writes in the Maimer that Mashiach means madregas. There's nehi, the imma, and there's imma l'mayla, and there's chachma, keser, chachma, some Kabbalistic words. And he says over there, Mashiach is shemen hamishchu, which is mechachma l'mayla, and klip is not shoylet over there. V'zeu madregas adam rishon koydem achet, and that's the madreg of Mashiach Tzidkenu, and that's the madreg of Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban. Because Tanegah Shel Beis Rabban have no chet, like the same Gemara says. So the same as Adam Rishon, the way he was before the first sin, before the Eitz Hadas, which is the madreg which Mashiach is, Yaskel, Yarem, and Isa, V'gava, even more than Adam Rishon. So when you talk about children, they're Mashiach, the Adam Rishon, and the same madreg. But more specifically, it's an attitude that we have in the classroom. Simchas Torah Tavshin Nun Beis, it was a sikha the Rebbe dedicated to Tzivus Hashem. The Rebbe said, the pshat in the Gemara Al Tigu Mashiach is, wenn man guckt auf ein Yiddish Kind, was sieht man? Man sieht auf sein Panem Mashiach. We don't need a Lamashal, a Gdula pshat, a Derech Lemsheich B'Shem, and when you're looking at a Jewish child in the classroom, and that's a question we have to ask ourselves when we look at ourselves in the mirror every day. Do I look as a child in my classroom as though he is Mashiach, the gully on his face? Do I see it? Or am I seeing other elements which are blocking, allowing me to see Mashiach? Because the Rebbe testified that when he looks at a child, all he sees is Mashiach. Not an adult. The Rebbe sees every single person that is a Chelkel Kamal Mamish. But the Rebbe said that in a child, they see it begully. I ask you a question. Now, we know the Rebbe had no children, begashmis. But everything could be different. Just imagine a scenario if the Rebbe would have a child. A gashmis child. A ben yachid. But which school would the Rebbe send him to? Which class would he send him to? The Mitziyanim class? The regular class? Would you be the teacher? Imagine if you would be the teacher of that child. You would be the manal in the school. Any of you ever see the note of Rav Avadi Yosef that he wrote why his son Yitzchak Yosef came late to class? And he complains to the teacher. You ever saw that note? It's floating around. Imagine, not in comparison, imagine that you're the teacher of the Rebbe's child. You don't have to imagine. You are teaching the Rebbe's child Kipshutei. The Rebbe writes to a mechanech that if he wants to be matzliach in chinuch, he should think about the fact that every one of his children is bana matam l'Hashem alekechem. Prior to the subject you're teaching, there's an individual you're teaching. And the child in our classroom is purely pashat anitzis Mashiach. There was a shliach in England. He says the story. I might as well say it because he says it himself. Rabbi Lou, that he was in Yechidus and he told the Rebbe that he has trouble holding back from hitting his children. Today we don't say these things publicly. And the Rebbe told him he should stop and think for a second that his child is a child of the Eibishter. And think that every time you're striking your child, you're striking a child of the Eibishter, which means you're striking the Eibishter. B'lashon HaPasuk, which I heard the Rebbe saying this by a Fabrenga once, and I'll say it exactly in the niggin the way I heard it, just the way the Rebbe said it. Hanigeya b'chem ki'ilu noigeya b'vaves einei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's exactly the tune the way I heard it from the Rebbe. At that time, honestly, I didn't know it was a pasuk. I thought it was must be some Maim Chazal. It's a pasuk. Hanigeya b'chem noigeya b'vaves einei. If you're touching a Yiddish child, you're touching the apple of the eye of the Eibishter. So the Rebbe told Rabbi Lou, look at your child as though he's a child of the Eibishter. Vayikra al Moshe Tayt Shrashi l'chol dibres l'chol amiros l'chol tzivuyim kadma kriya lashon chiba. The very first thing, when you walk into the classroom, before it's Adam ki yakriv mikem karban Hashem, before you teach him Parshas HaKarbanos, what's the first thing? Kadma kriya lashon chiba. There's Moshe. Vayikra al Moshe. I'm teaching an individual. I'm teaching a child. I'm teaching B'nai Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When I walked in here this morning, Emes Geret. I'm a critic, B'teva, I'm a critic. And I always look with the left eye. And I'm trying to find what are the chesronos that are going on. And there's a few, don't worry. But it was extremely liberating and inspiring. People that are here, they to want to do the right thing and teach Bandav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pshuta k'mashmoy. It's a far cry from the Mechanchim that we had many years ago. That a focus nonstop on the fact I'm walking into a classroom. It's not only about covering my subject and covering my aims and objectives and skills and curriculum and syllabus. That's also very important and extremely important, and it is benchmarks, and after everything has to be measured. I am teaching B'nai Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm teaching Meshichai. Ich zeh of zayin ponim, pashut das is Mashiach. I will give my bracha to the entire Vad, to all the moises that are involved in putting this together, to the Melamdim, to the Menalim, to the Mechanchim. Aluva atzlichu, you're doing the biggest avodas hakodesh that exists today. There's nothing that comes anywhere close to the job of Yosher Melam Toil to Nekashol Besraban. Is al matzliach zayin, and through these Mashiach, you should bring the Mashiach Ha'amiti, the Gula Mitzvah Shlema. Yeshakoyach for giving me an inspirational week.
Okay. Thank you, Rabbi Bran. As a father, my family enjoys going on a lot of road trips. I live in Montreal. I have in-laws in Chicago. 16-hour drives, 8 hours, 7 hours to New York. Do it a couple of times a year. And the kids in the car, as they were growing up, how do you excite them to sit for so many hours? So, of course, you have Rabbi Burson tapes. Rabbi Burson al Shalom taught many of us. A lot goes to him. And then we got into CDs. But then with the new age cars, CDs are no longer available. So how do you keep kids entertained in the car? You have podcasts. So I don't remember which one it was, but I happened to have click on one of them even before I knew what the podcasts were. And I listened to it myself, and it was very, very exciting. So I told my kids, listen, we've got something exciting to listen to. There's an Uncle Moshe podcast. And they sat for the hour in the car, quiet, mesmerized, listening. And we went on. And as the kids got older, the podcast got more deep, and not just Uncle Moshe, but a tremendous amount of other people on this podcast. And there was a moment on one of the podcasts that my kids were listening to an entertainer, and he was explaining how he gets his music. And he mentioned that he particularly takes his music from not necessarily all Jewish places. And I remember my boys just go, wow, you mean music really has to be, from real kosher places? And we really have to know who we're listening to. For me as a father, this was a tremendous learning curve and inspiring moment. So it's my honor and pleasure to invite Nachi Gordon, who is the host. Who's a host of the Meaningful People and many other podcasts out there. I encourage you to listen it first before you listen with your children. But there are many out there that are incredible. And he is going to interview 4 very meaningful Malamdim and Mechanchim. Some of them are friends. Some of them we got to know over time. In no particular order other than just what I was given. Growing up in New York, Mendy discovered his passion in sharing Torah at a young age. He taught his first online Jewish school before joining Hebrew Academy of Orange County. He has now dedicated his free time to leading youth programs. With 15 years of experience, Mendy inspires young minds and makes lasting impacts on his students' lives. Mendy Naparstek. Anybody who's on those Mechanchim chats from way at the beginning, all I have to say is those electrocuted hot dogs. Avram Garnett. Talking about podcasts, a new one that's out there. Very, very, very inspiring and interesting. All about Chassidim and Nigunim. Coming out weekly. Moshe Weinfeld from Toronto. And a friend who we spent time in yeshiva in Miami, Nachum Shapiro, who is teaching 8th and 9th grade in the school that he was taught. If you got the bingo cards, you can knock that off. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I saw the flyer for this event. Has anybody here seen it? You saw my face? It was very out of place. I was the only one with no beard on the flyer. You guys still welcomed me. I appreciate it. Actually, I posted on my WhatsApp status around 10 minutes ago. Does anybody have any advice to grow a beard really, really quickly? Some said baby powder. Didn't work. Anyways, it's a pleasure to be here and look around this room. I'm an outsider insider with Chabad. Obviously, my family has very strong roots in Chabad, and we like to call it undercover, undercover shluchim. I've had the honor of interviewing many shluchim around the world, and I come to a room like this, I look around, and I'm looking at some of the most authentic shluchim I've ever seen, right here. Shluchim get credit. They have a Chabad house. There's credit. There's covered. Rabbeim have a thankless job, and you guys are doing the true avodah. So thank you all. I'm going to start with Chashava Rabbeim up here with me. I'm going to start asking a question. We'll start from this side, or whoever could get the mic up quicker to their mouth. The first question I want to start with is, why did you get into chinuch, classroom chinuch? There's many other things you could possibly be doing, whether it's in the corporate world, Chabad house, or anything else. To be a Rebbe in a classroom, why did you choose that?
So it actually starts with my grandfather. My grandfather was a teacher for many years, and he taught the non-observant, non-religious children, And at some point, he felt like, what am I doing? I'm teaching them. I don't think anyone really cares what I'm saying, what I'm teaching, what kind of impact am I really having. And he went into the Rebbe, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and told him, he said, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Nothing's coming out of this. And he told him, don't worry. Eventually you'll see. You'll see peiros and peiros, fruits from the work, the time that you're putting in. And so it happened. It was his last week before he passed away. He had a heart attack and he passed away. Right before that, he heard one or two messages that came across from someone who was dating someone non-Jewish and said, but they were really overwhelmed by it and said, no, I can't do it. And the person who met them, they were saying, why is that? Because I remember his teacher, Rabbi Zakon, was taught us that that's something we don't do. As Jews, we only marry Jews. And he realized this was his last week. So it was so many years later where even though he didn't feel at that time that something was coming out of it, what he was doing, he was working, but he realized the impact. So when I heard the story, it amazed me to see the impact that teachers can have in their children. I always had a passion, enjoyment to see the purity of children. Their curiosity is not like the adult's curiosity when we have some kind of agenda we're trying to discover, figure out. When they're curious and they want to find out, they want to know something, it's sincere, it's pure. So I always had that feeling towards, I said, that's something that I would like to do.
Amazing, thank you. I heard you're very funny, so I'm expecting things from you. So that's the intel. But tell me, why did you get into chinuch?
Honestly, I was unemployed.
There it is, folks.
I wanted that.
I was in
I
I was in Koilo and Tiferes in Morristown. I was politely asked to move on for some reason. That wasn't the joke. Anyway, and there was the time they Keynote Shluchim back in 2001, and I called the Shluchim office. They said, "What can you do?" I said, "I can play the guitar and get kids riled up." And they said, "Okay, we'll set up some interviews and a couple of them as teachers, and my wife and I." And Baruch Hashem, we got jobs teaching in Las Vegas, in Desert Torah Academy. That's right, yeah. It's not the same without me. Anyway, so what happened? The first 6 months was brutal. I was about to quit. I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to go in. I didn't understand what it means to be a teacher. I had no idea. The only thing I knew about being in school is getting kicked out of class. But at the end of that first year, a new principal took over, and my guru, my mashpia, and who I owe everything to, Rabbi Moshe Baruch Rodman, he took me under his wing. He asked me what I want to do. I said, I want to quit. He said, don't quit, because he saw I had a chush. And I said, I'll stay on one condition. You teach in my class 1 hour a day, because he's a master teacher, and I want to learn how to teach. And he did that. And Baruch Hashem started off a career where I realized that I actually was born to do this, and this is what I do. And I hope to continue doing it until Mashiach comes, and after.
So, my parents are both teachers, I don't know, for 50 years, and I'm from the younger half of the family, so when I grew up, I was already hearing all about the impact that my parents have had on many people due to being a teacher. So to me, it was just something that was natural. This is what I want to have that. And growing up, being a bacher, going into learning teacher and dealing with younger kids, the aha moment really, you got it. That's something that you get to experience every single day. Mitzvah Hashem.
Thank you.
I was a Koilel Young Galite about 11 years ago, and I started to look into shlichus. I called a few Chabad houses. One Chabad house had an offer of me teaching half a day while running 50 other programs the other half of the day, and 15 more programs during the night, while my wife will run all the women's circle. So nothing really worked out with Chabad houses. And my mashpia at the time told me that I should try out this chinuch training program that Rabbi Zalman Goldstein had in Alatera. And he took Koilel Young Galite, who wanted to train into chinuch, and he allowed them to be in classrooms and observe the teachers and then even give classes while the teachers give them feedback. I first spent 1 month in Rabbi Yisrael Ozdabai's classroom, which I learned a lot from. But then for the next 6 months, I spent in the Reb Zalman Shapiro's classroom. He was a third grade Rebbe in Alter then. And the reason why I passionately took the position that I was offered that summer at Cheder Chabad Toronto is because I was tremendously inspired by the mechanech, the educator, Rabbi Shapiro, the way he taught, referred, loved, and cared his Talmidim. It had such impression on me that I just fell in love with chinuch. So.
Thank you. The question I like asking people, anyone who I meet really, but especially people in the position in which you guys are in, which is, shaping the future of Klal Yisrael, is what currently concerns you the most today, and what excites you the most today in regards to what you're seeing in the classroom? So it's a two-part question. First of all, what is concerning you, and then what is exciting you?
The proliferation of technology is something that is a double-edged sword. And I think that that's really the challenge. One of the big challenges we have nowadays, it's the proliferation of information. Kids can go on there's the capability to go anywhere and everywhere to find out whatever they want. On the other hand, technology, that proliferation of information can be such a powerful tool. So I think that really is the generation that we have. And compared to when I started teaching 24 years ago, the amount of knowledge that the kids are getting is fantastic. But they need that guidance, and the challenge is to make sure that we guide them in the right way, to make sure that they're utilizing all these things in the right way, and not chas v'shalom the other way.
And what are you, I guess, the most excited about?
What I get excited about?
Besides for recess, I know.
That was it when I was in school. When I walk into my classroom, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again, my worst day as a teacher is better than the best day a balabas could have. When I have these neshamas in front of me, when I have these kids, and they're kalim, and I have the ability, the power, and the potential to turn them into the most, not turn them into, they're already there, but to them to realize the power they have, to realize the potential they have, that they can be the ones literally could turn the world around. Kara Welt. That is the most amazing. I can't. I'm out of words. This is strange. It's beyond. So you wake up in the morning. What I'm excited about? I'm excited to be in my classroom. I love being in my classroom.
Is there anything that you see from your Talmidim today, specifically, whether it's a specific character trait? Every generation differs, obviously, but something that you're seeing with today's generation that you want to call out and say, this is something, this is special that we have in our generation?
I think because of the proliferation, thank you.
I wouldn't know how to say that, so.
Of technology, the accessibility of everything. When you have students, children, young adults that do the right thing, it's really coming from something inside and not coming from anything around, because it's so easy to just not fit and not do the right thing. And there's a certain tamimus, there's a certain sincerity and honesty that many Talmidim have, because they are consciously making the right choice.
That's really special.
I think that the number one challenge today in chinuch, which that exact challenge is also the biggest reason to be optimistic, is our own brains. I think that reality is more the way we perceive it than what it actually is. And I believe that it's possible that certain kids turn out a certain way, not just it's possible, kids turn out the way we look at them and view them. If in our head we view as chinuch being harder today and more challenging today, and how things are less chassidish, or whatever you want to call it, then that's how it's going to turn. That's how it's going to turn out. But at the same moment, if it's just a switch in our brain, if we actually believe that these kids are able to be real Chassidish Yidden that will daven ba'aveda, learn Chassidus nachanand, it's all up to our brain switch to turn that switch around, and then they could just actually turn that way. And the raya is that you do actually see very Chassidish Bachim today in Mesiftas, in Zals, in this generation, and not any less Chassidish Bachim than there were 20 years ago, and I wasn't a Bachar 30 years ago, but definitely than 20 years ago. So I think it's just how their parents looked at them, if they thought they had a potential to be a Chassidish Bachrim, and that's the challenge, and that's also the thing that will change it around. So.
To me, what's the most challenging, and maybe it's an outcome of the technology, is I feel that children don't necessarily have parental support for their education. The parents a lot of times just will give them devices and they'll be busy with things, so they don't feel that connection at home as much as they should or as much as it used to be. And that's something we can support as teachers, making that connection with the children in the classroom. But I do find at the same time is that the children are a lot more independent. So, you give them, sometimes you just give them some guidelines and they'll do a lot of the learning on their own. So that's the right side that I see of it. That there's something in them, as we're saying, and they're ready to learn and to do probably way more than they did in the past without, just guide them and they'll take off with it.
I think I remember hearing once, I think it was Rabbi Shimon Russell, who said that whether you think about your kid, you say to your kid they're going to be a failure or a success, it's both right. Because what you think is what will be. I think it goes to what you were saying. I want to ask, specifically, over the last 5 to 7 years, things have changed in the world. Things are changing right now, probably while we're here, that we don't know about, and it has an impact on our youth, has an impact on this generation. What have you seen that biggest shift to be? Obviously, the easy answer I think is going to be technology, right? There's technology, and but I think we'll save everybody time here and just put technology aside for a second. What has been the biggest shift with that boy when it comes to being in the classroom in yeshiva?
They say there was a synagogue was looking for a rabbi, and they had 3 candidates, and each one, they had their week to prepare their sermon, and one of them was sitting and listening. He realized he overheard the other rabbi preparing his sermons. He said, what, that sounds perfect. I'm going to listen, and I'll make sure I'm up there before him. And that's what happened. So he's up there, he's saying the sermon that the other rabbi prepared, and the other rabbi's like, oh, whoa, he's talking about the same topic. And he started to realize he's going through his whole sermon. What's he supposed to do when he gets up there? When it's his turn and he gets up, he said, what, we all know that rabbis are very good at talking and all their sermons and speeches, but the rabbi also has another quality, and that is the quality of listening. And he said, I'm going to display my quality of listening, and he said over the whole thing again. Children today I believe more than in the past, they need to be heard and need to be noticed and need to be seen and recognized for who they are and what they are. And that challenge to make sure that they feel that and that comes across to them, that's probably one of the biggest challenge. So together with everything that we have, educational-wise, academic, and all the things, as we're hearing, they need to be felt. They want to be felt that they're heard and they're recognized.
They need to be taken seriously. Yeah.
So I'm going to use a modern buzzword, privilege. So I've seen that, especially, and I don't know if it comes from the parents or it's just, again, technology, whatever it is, the students come in and they seem to feel that the boundary between the mechanech and them is blurry. The students, anyone can pick up a book, anyone can pick up read a book. Our job is not to teach them how to read books, how to read Sfarim, how to understand a Sefer. It's the vital component, but the main thing is, the Rebbe says, that our job is to inspire the students that they should have Yer Shemayim, that they should learn how to do the mitzvahs and practice the mitzvahs properly. The attitude that I've been seeing is that, I'm like a 10-year-old in my classroom, and of course he can have an opinion, but he has to understand that there is a boundary. And it's not a boundary that means it's mean or chas v'shalom, overpowering. It's a power struggle. It's I'm here to facilitate you. Don't put off just because. Don't think that I'm this old fuddy-duddy who doesn't know what's going on. I have what to give, but you have to understand that is the relationship. We're not friends. We're friendly, but we're not friends. And I'm here to mold you, to help you, to guide you. Sometimes parents seem to explain to their kids otherwise. That they, you spoke to my kid, and they think that we're coming from a place of, again, power struggle. Chas v'shalom, everyone in this room is in chinuch. Why? Because we want to help, and as Rabbi Bran said moments ago, to take the neshamas, the mashiachai, and to help them realize that. Are we perfect? Besides me, we're not perfect, and we're never going to be perfect. There's no perfection in this world, and we make mistakes. I've made mistakes. He's made mistakes. We all make mistakes. But the parents have to understand and tell their kids that even though we might have made a mistake, we are still rabbis, we're still mechanchim, and we are there for their best interests. We are there to guide them, to help them, and that's, I think that's one of the bigger struggles I've been seeing over the last few years.
So I might push back on the premise of the question. In my experience of the last 5, 7, I'm only teaching over a little over 15 years, so maybe you need a longer period of time to see the changes. But I find that the human nature, the kids have been, a good mechanech is still able to accomplish and accomplishes and deals with the same challenges maybe that they dealt with 100 years ago, if you're a good mechanech, you know how to, I'm up here for whatever reason. I want to also be, everyone here is meaningful, just you should know. But
besides for that singer who said he gets his music inspiration from the non-Jewish music, I don't know about that.
But I have found that over the course of my teaching that it's been pretty consistent with the challenges and the successes, and if you do the right things, Baruch Hashem, it works out.
So you think that someone who's a Rebbe 70 years ago can walk into a classroom in 2024, utilize the same exact method and be successful?
I think if he was a good Rebbe and he understood the lay of the land, he would be able to. In other words, I haven't, maybe I just subconsciously developed it, but I can't say that I noticed what the difference is. Less paying attention, more paying attention, less attention span. Smartphones have been around for most of my teaching life.
So interesting. I hear what you're saying. The only thing I can kind of agree a little bit is if they were a good Rebbe then, they'll be a good Rebbe now. But maybe they weren't a good Rebbe then, so they wouldn't be a good Rebbe now.
No. What I'm saying is that everyone in this room is sitting here trying to work on being the best teacher that they can be, and we're here to figure out how to do that. I've come to the Kinnusim many times, Baruch Hashem. This was a phenomenal Kinnus, just putting it out there. And we're developing the same things. We're continuing to build off this. It's a progress. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be. There's never one solution, and that's my perspective. Take it or leave it.
I retract. You're right.
What?
You're right. I retract.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're joking or not.
Does anybody here disagree? You can make this interesting. Come on.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, take a Rebbe from 70 years ago. He had a certain expectation of how the kids will refer to him in the classroom. What type of questions they will ask, what type of opinions they will express or not express. I believe that if that Rebbe will be put in a classroom today, after few interactions with the kids after recess, if something happened by recess, or some questions about opinions and whatever, he will be blown away.
But do you think that changed in 5 and 7 years? Because that was the
Changed
question.
in the last 5 years.
The question
Yeah,
is 5 to 7
years.
I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if the last 5 or 7, 70 years things would change. But
One thing that I did notice that changed after COVID is not the kids, but the parents. At least from my experience, since over COVID, there's so many lockdowns anytime somebody
Where were
was
you?
positive in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And there was
Wait,
so
how'd you
much
get, how'd you
underground.
get here?
We were in Florida. We didn't have COVID in Florida.
Somebody get this man a mask.
We're actually fortunate that one of the shluchim in the area allowed us to use this Chabad house for like a half a year. So we actually had.
That's criminal.
Oh, sorry. Let's erase that.
You have the right to remain silent.
So what I found was that since people would be getting sick every week and people were not showing up because they were positive or their family member was positive, it created a certain general disregard for showing up, communicating about showing up, or showing up on time, which effects of it stayed after COVID also, that once kids and parents were used to taking off a week and coming back, not having to explain to you why they were not there, that attitude kind of stayed, at least in my town. And there's a lack of, my kid was late with a note type of thing, or we're worried for the last week. Oh, yeah, we went to a wedding in Florida. I think that became worse after COVID.
Okay. I remember when I was in 6th grade, I had a Rebbe. I wasn't a great student, I'll tell you that. I probably would be a nightmare for each one of you, but I was not a good student. I'm not shy about that. And I was in 6th grade and I had a very serious Rebbe, very serious Rebbe. And I remember beginning of the year, we had Gemara tests, and I pretty much filled in my name, maybe took a stab at a couple of questions, gave him the test, and I think I got like a 2 out of 54. And the 2 were by accident. I don't know how I got those right. I don't know, but yeah, my name, yeah, it's true. But I wrote Nachi, and really it's Menachem Mendel, so I would have gotten none right with you, maybe.
That's why you didn't get full grades.
Anyways, the Rebbe sat down with me, which has never happened to me in any previous grade at that point, and he said to me, "This is not going to happen this year. You're a smart kid." I said, "Excuse me?" It was so bad to the point that when he met with my parents at PTA, he thought I may have had a learning disability. Like, I was really just disinterested. But what he did is he instilled the confidence in me that, no, you really are you're gonna try this year, and I'm not gonna take a lackluster performance. And I did very, very well for the rest of that year.
If I could say something about that.
The next year, though, was a disaster. Yeah.
There's a general debate amongst Mechanchim. Is it a good thing to talk to last year's Rabbi about the students?
No.
Or is it not good? In my opinion...
It's like you dating a girl. Should the girl talk to the last girl you dated? How about wives? No.
I think your story shows that if you're talking to last year's Rebbe, only talk about skills in terms of learning, but not anything about behavior.
Yeah. I don't know. I think short memory. Each kid that comes in, you're the Rebbeim. I was just the bad student.
You could ask them to say something good about last year's students.
Yeah, but the question I really have for you is, do you have maybe a lesson that was instilled in you, or a story that you have with one of your Talmidim that you can share that is one of those memorable stories, one of those stories that a kid's gonna come over to you and you've been a Rebbe for 60 years and said, "Rebbe, you know what you did?"
You can't know that beforehand. That's why it happens by itself.
Okay, I guess so.
Everyone
else will answer the question.
Yeah, not so long. I've had a number of students like that, but I do have a student that actually we're still in touch constantly. There wasn't that gap in between, and that was, when he came to my class, he was really the self-esteem was very low, and he was not doing well. And because all I had to do was believe in him and trust him, and he was learning, and it was not an easy journey, but he knew that I really cared for him. So the next year, he was in a different class. He just walked into my class because he knew that I cared for him. And a day and a half later, the principal was like, "Is everything okay? What's he do?" I said, "He's fine, he's okay." So it didn't matter what grade he was in, he was happy because he knew that I trusted him. And ever since then, we're still in touch.
Wow, that's amazing. You for sure have a story here too, no?
What's the name of that kid who got burned from the hot dogs?
What?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Apparently, okay, so something that stands out to me, and not a funny story, a very serious story. Maybe 10, 12 years ago, I was in my class, and I had a student who is from what it sounds like you could relate to. And he didn't want to work, he didn't want to this, he didn't bring his stuff, and generally speaking, Baruch Hashem, I'm positive and I can believe in you, blah blah blah. One day, for whatever reason, I can't remember. It was probably one morning I got up the wrong side of the bed, and I was doing my best, and this kid came in, and he didn't have this, and he didn't, and then I said, Yankel, it's not a real name to protect the innocent.
Nachum.
And he came and he starts mouthing back to me, "Oh, you didn't tell me, blah blah blah." And to my embarrassment, I lost it. And I actually, I think the one time in my career I actually let go. And I told him what I thought about his performance. And I ranted. And again, I'm embarrassed about it. It was a.
I think you're the only mechanech in this room that it happened to only one time.
It's only one time I'm going to talk about. All right, okay. It wasn't just that, whatever, okay. And I looked up, and this 12-year-old was crying in front of the class, in front of the whole class, and his tears coming down. And I stopped. And I walked out of the room. I walked out, I had a back door, and I started crying myself. I couldn't believe that I had done such a. It was a low moment. And I composed myself. I walked back in, and I said, and he's still standing there. I'm standing, and I walk in the classes looking, and I said to him, I said, "You know what? I was absolutely wrong the way I spoke to you. The way I said the way I spoke to you was inexcusable. Sorry. And I apologize. I said, I'm not apologizing for the reason I said it, right? Whatever it was that caused it, I'm not going to say that you were doing the right thing, but who am I to have a right to speak to you as a Yid or a Talmud like that?" And he turned around to me, and I looked at him, and he came over, and he gave me a hug. And actually, don't tell anyone, I get in trouble. He gave me a hug, and I've spoken to him. He's now, Baruch Hashem, is a nice young man, and I've spoken to him about it, and he told me he remembered it, and to me, me personally, it was a beautiful moment, and just the fact that he changed. I could have stood my ground. No, you did this, and that's it. Yeah, you are, or whatever. But that's not. Again, that's not what we do. We're here. I'm there to guide him. And you know what? For a mechanech, sometimes I know some teachers who find it very difficult to become vulnerable, apologize, or to show. In my class, by the way, just the kids who ask me questions I don't know the answer to, we celebrate. I give them a little tchotchke, whatever, because that's real learning. Learning's not from the answers they give, the questions they ask. That shows that the cogs are turning, and that's really what it is. And that's what we do. We're there to just show them that this is the way to be a good Jew, and apologizing part of being a good Jew.
I don't have any earth-shattering stories of somebody coming back from because they remembered me or something. But every single year, there's a certain aha and oh wow moment with one or two students. And nothing special happened. It's just nothing special happened except for the fact that they discover that they're not necessarily as disabled as they thought they were. Typically, kids are looked at as failures in learning if their reading and translating skills are schwach in early grades. And many kids get their whole picture about their capabilities in learning based on how well they're able to read and translate, which is a very small part of the learning. And it happens a lot that a kid, all of a sudden, Gemara is not just reading and translating, and Mishnah is not reading and translating, and 99% of these boys are not any less behind in terms of Havana and comprehension than the rest of the class. And sometimes they're even smarter than the rest of the class. And when you get this aha moment, not just for you, but for the kid himself, that when he's, I'm up to class, with learning. I'm not behind really. It's just one compartment of reading and translating, which is really important. But I'm not a disabled Jew in terms of Torah learning. That is, it's an ongoing story, and not just, I'm sure, in every single classroom. And that's, yeah.
So I don't have the proof that it's connected, but there, at one point, there was a student from a younger grade who was known to give the teachers a run for his money. Very, very, very bright and very challenging and always looking to try to, as you'll see from the, and one day I wasn't part of doing lunch, I didn't have to, but one day I was asked to do lunch and they bench out loud and we were benching and I started benching with this as Baruch Atah and I hadn't washed, but I forgot and I said David's name, I said Baruch and this kid goes like this. So as we're benching, this was towards the end of the year, I go over to him and I say, I made a mistake. I just told him I made a mistake. And I believe that from that next year when he was in my class, it was an unbelievable year. That is, he was able to see that I was able to be real with him, be honest with him, and we had I don't know that for sure that it's connected, but
So you mean teachers are human?
Way. What?
Teachers are also human?
Well, they better start getting paid like them.
My boss is in the room, by the way.
Last question I have is an interesting one. I know this is streaming right now on COL or other places, and Toronto might be calling you about that, but that's something you... If you can look into that camera, if you can speak directly to your Talmidim, they're not here right now, but what is something that you want them to know that's in your heart?
I want them, each and every one of them, to know that I value them and I care for them and I am happy for their success at every step of the way.
It's a toughie. How much time do we have left? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Chaim the bracha.
Okay.
I say to my students, I love you. You are my life. And my shlichus, my shlichus is to serve you, to do whatever I can to help you be who you can be. And you'll make mistakes, I'll make mistakes, and together we're gonna work through them, and we're going to learn more, and we're gonna grow from them, and that's really our relationship. And no matter what you do, you're mine. That's right.
I would want my students to know that it's their responsibility and they can do it, and I am absolutely here for you.
I hope actually one of my students is watching. If not today, if it's recorded, maybe later on. But if you are watching and you're my student this year and in future years, I would like for you to know that it is not sufficient for you to have a goal to grow up to be a Chassidish Yid with not only, but just with Midos Tovos and Chesed and Tzedakah, but you should know that every single Yid has to have that goal, including you, to become a Talmid Chacham. Becoming a Talmid Chacham is not only for some Yidden, it's for all Yidden. It is clearly spelled out in the Fidik Rebbe Zichronis, throughout the whole Zichronis. There are two themes. How the most important thing is Midos Tovos and Amaisu Eikar, and at the same time, all the stories also illustrate how there's this people at the age of 40 and 50 that discovered that they can actually also learn and become Talmid Chachamim. So I wish for you to be a Gereisa Talmid Chacham.
Thank you, everybody, so much, and enjoy the rest of your lunch.
yeah, yeah, yeah.